Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast Real Talk with Sudhanya. Today's guest is Romy Andreu. She's a communication and marketing consultant at the University of Applied Science, Utrecht, and an advocate of sober life and ADHD. She taught me terms like neuro-minority and the neurodiversity spectrum and why you don't need to get into a real extreme situation of alcoholism to lead a sober life. She has a truly inspiring personal journey on how to live a preventive life by being more self-aware and conscious and what it truly means to be sober in today's times. I am very inspired today and I hope you are inspired too. Enjoy. Welcome, Romy.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. I am super excited to have you today. And I know that you're a big advocate of sober life. So enlighten me, what do you mean by sober life?
So for me, sober life means that I don't drink alcohol. I also try to avoid alcohol in foods, although I have one nemesis, which is, or maybe kryptonite, I think you would call it, which is like tiramisu. Okay. So it is made with alcohol. If I make it, I don't. But sometimes it's made with alcohol, so I will have that. But like in general, I don't consume alcohol. So that's what sober life means for me.
Why did you become sober? What's wrong in alcohol?
What's like a lot? Look at the research. No, for me it was so. Maybe this is like a good preface. My dad, he passed away when I was 6. According to the stories, he was an alcoholic. So I've been always very cautious and conscious about alcohol. So I maybe had like the 1 or 2 tries when I was, before drinking age. But I never really was the type of be like, oh, I'm 16 or like I'm almost 16, like, oh, let's secretly drink or, whatever. And it was because of the stories I heard about my dad, because I was so young, so I
that
have
had an effect. Yeah,
exactly. Like the thing is, like, I have memories of my dad, but like they're not clouded by alcohol stuff or like him being angry or whatever, the typical drunk behavior, for example. So I was always very conscious about my alcohol consumage or consumption, how you would say it, until we went to college, and then that's when it started a little bit. But that's why it's such a big thing for me. And then I didn't drink until I think I was like 20 or something, or like not a lot at least. No. And then you went to college and there were like parties and stuff like that. And that went on to a point that I started using alcohol for, and I want to say, like, I wasn't an alcoholic. Like, I didn't need alcohol. I also choose many times just not to consume it, but sometimes, especially during COVID, for example, I would sit alone and I was like, oh, I'm bored. Oh, let's have a glass, so you got the buzz. Or what I had a lot as well was like, I was overwhelmed. Let's drink alcohol because then I can relax.
Or I had a long day.
Oh, I had a long day.
That's so normal.
Yeah, like, oh, it was such a hard day. Let's have a glass. I had a hard day. Let's get a Chardonnay. No, I'm not into the white wines, but but yeah, that's the things that keep popping up, and like they're at one point, and I didn't only notice it with myself, but like with other people, there was always a reason to drink.
But isn't that the current reality? It's absolute normal.
Yeah.
And just not in the West. Every part of the world, even where I come from, East too, that every occasion is a reason to drink more.
Yeah.
So what's wrong in that?
Well, for me, what's wrong in that is, for example, I know I made decisions that weren't healthy for me. And I'm not talking about the decision of drinking alcohol, but like...
In the influence of alcohol.
Yeah. Like, for example, I'm quite high sensitive. So like loud noises or like crowded places and like don't. It's too much. I'm easily overstimulated. But then I would drink alcohol and then it would be fine. So I would cross boundaries for myself, or I would make decisions, or like not like big things that happen, but you know, sometimes you just do stupid things when you're drunk or intoxicated, whatever. But besides that, if you look at it, alcohol, like the reaction your body has to alcohol is actually a response of you kind of being poisoned, because it's a response to like, this is not what I want in my body, you know, like it's a, how would you say that, like somebody once said like it's a poison, and a reaction your body has is actually the response that a body would have towards poison, basically.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
It doesn't feel like in the beginning, because it makes you feel
it makes you feel happy and stuff.
like forget your stress, or if you have social anxiety. It's also, I think, as a society, for us to have a normal conversation or like have a real talk, we need to get drunk.
But is it? But then I'm wondering, like, is it a real talk, or is there like
Thank you.
Isn't there like some bigger problem underneath? Like, if you
What are we masking?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, why do we need alcohol for almost everything? Like, oh, I don't feel comfortable dancing, let's drink. Oh, I don't feel comfortable about talking about this, so let's have a drink, and then it's easy.
Yeah.
Or like apparently, if we need things for social anxiety, for example, why not treat the social anxiety, and why do you want to mask it? I mean, it's easy.
It's a shortcut.
It's easy, it's accessible, that's why I do understand that people do drink.
Yeah.
But I decided, I was like, I'm masking so much things. I wouldn't say shit, but like I was masking so much.
Yeah.
Like what I said, you know, I don't feel comfortable going into clubs. Like, I do like dancing. I dance salsa and bachata, so I like to go to like dance parties. But like clubbing, I went clubbing because my friends like clubbing, and not necessarily because I liked it, but because I drank, I could handle the situation.
Yeah, of being, I don't know, claustrophobic, like.
Yeah,
that's my feeling.
Yeah, like, and the thing is, I mean, you're not super tall as well. Like, I was always like the one sniffing armpits and like, you know, it's, you know, sorry guys, but clubbing, it's disgusting.
I agree with that. I could never handle it.
Yeah.
And still I was struggling, like, why is it fun for all and not for me?
But I still have the struggle. Like, and honestly, I think
I don't go. So.
Yeah, I don't go either anymore. Like, but still sometimes, and this is like the I love social media, but sometimes I really hate it. Because you feel like you're missing out, like the FOMO is like real when you see all these people like, oh my God, having so much fun and like drinking and like having the fun photos and like, you know, and then you're like, but
like party means getting drunk, sloshed, mixing up alcohol.
Yeah, and then having fun and then like
strangers.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so much celebrated.
Yeah, but to be fair, somewhere I read something about the drunk girl bathroom conversations.
Yeah,
like. And when I read the thing about that, I was like, I kind of do miss that, you know, because because it was fun, because you would talk to random strangers in a bathroom and be like, oh, girl, you're so amazing. Like, but then I'm like, why don't we do that in general? Like, if I were to meet you, like if you were a stranger and I like something that you're wearing or like your makeup or whatever, like, why am I not just complimenting you in that? Why are we so scared? But then when we drink alcohol, it's like, oh, girl this, oh, girl that, oh, you're amazing. You're like
exaggerating or even saying stuff that you don't mean, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, or like, oh yeah, we're definitely gonna keep in touch or whatever, you know, and then exchanging numbers or like
extreme
social,
emotional things as well.
And then I'm wondering, like, what are these then real conversations? They're fun, but are these the real conversations that we just, you know, talked about? Like, do we really need alcohol for all of that to happen? Or do we need to touch upon maybe the insecurities we have, or maybe the fears we have.
Yeah.
Like I understand it. It's very, very scary to talk to strangers. Like,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
it can be scary.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
saying it is, but like, if I go to a conference, like I'm usually a very hyperactive, like upbeat person, but putting me in a conference, that's also a way, like, or a situation where there is a lot of, well, not a lot of alcohol, but people like, oh yeah, here's a welcome drink with like prosecco or like a little champagne, and like, oh, welcome, and then you're already a bit more loose, and
Yeah. And that's so absolutely normal. And hence, I feel that it's so difficult to have a social life being sober, right? What do you think about that?
for me, the biggest thing that I learned in terms of social settings, it's you need to re-educate the people around you. And that sounds like very like strictly, you need to but they know you in a certain way, and some might know you for years. And also for me, I was a girl like, oh yeah, if you want to have fun, just, like you can have a drink with Romy. Or like I would be the one like, hey, let's grab a drink at Lebowski, in Utrecht, for example. It's my favorite pub. And
Then you had to bring a new version of Romy.
I had to learn them, to teach them, like, this is the new version. And I had to teach them, like, okay, I don't drink alcohol, but what do I drink? Or what do I like? Or even tell them, like, I'm figuring this stuff out. Like, it's a completely new thing I'm doing in my life. Like, how is life actually without alcohol? Not just a dry January,
Yeah. And I feel that's where the real fun lies too, because we associate normally drinking with fun and partying and all these things. For me, if you ask me genuinely, what's real fun? To have these real conversations and to know you more beyond these superficial talks of makeup or, I don't know, the external accolades at work or something. That what do you really, really care about? Or even that's like too deep maybe, but having more conversations that are based on taking out that mask and showing the vulnerable you, stepping into the unknown.
Yeah, and actually the unknown is quite fun. Like,
Yeah.
I've discovered so many drinks that don't revolve alcohol. And even if you go beyond, because that's usually, I mean, that's what I did too. Like, when I quit drinking alcohol, and that was actually because I took plant medicine and I had to be sober for 2 weeks. And then I decided, like, oh, okay, I'm sober for 2 weeks now and I actually feel quite good. Like, how does it feel if I'm sober for a month? And then at one point I downloaded this like sober app, which counts your days and your hours sober. And then it became kind of a game. But then, yes, it's the unknown, but then it's the fun, like, okay, but what how does it look like without alcohol, and what can I drink? And then what I said, go beyond the how do you say that, the replacements of alcohol, instead of like having an alcohol-free beer or non-alcoholic beer, what else is there? Or like having a non-alcoholic,
Like camouflaging drinks with thinking that
it's still the drink.
I'll think this is beer.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how can I make it look, feel, I don't know, believe, make
Taste
other
like real beer.
Yeah.
But why do you want that?
Why do you want that?
Yeah. So for me, at one point I was like, I think, so I started like that too, which is completely normal. I mean, like, at
It's
least
better than nothing.
yeah, exactly. Then it's better than drinking,
Yeah.
But so I started with the non-alcoholic beers, and at one point I was like, why am I drinking this? Like, I was bloated and like, I felt so full and it was heavy, and then I stopped doing that as well. Then Gordon's came out with their non-alcoholic gin. I was like, okay, I really do like a gin and tonic. What about this non-alcohol? But then I tasted it, and it tasted so real that I was like, I'm not doing this.
No.
Like, I felt like
Now
I was
I'll be addicted to.
Yeah, like I almost felt like I was cheating on my sobriety,
Yeah.
like I'm not, so I just threw away the can. I was like, I'm not doing this.
No.
And actually, I can't even remember the last time I had a non-alcoholic substitute,
Yeah.
for a drink.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you find out this whole variety of other normal,
Beverages.
beverages
Yeah.
that you can drink.
Like you're having now.
I'm having a Royal Club no, it's not sponsored. Bitter lemon, but the thing is, I really like bitter lemon and tonic because I like the gin and tonic, and now I just drink it without, which is the same. Like it's there's not much of a difference.
Yeah. Or explore. For me, I learned water to be a great source of fun as well. How you like it was a mindset switch for me as well, because I also felt like, okay, if I need to survive in this corporate world, or if I need to go up, or if I need to socialize, if I need to network for my speaking gigs and stuff, I need to socialize, meet people. And it's so absolutely normal that
you grab
drink.
the wine or a beer,
Wine and beer. That's like so absolutely normal. And it took almost like courage to say that, like, I want to drink water.
Yeah, but
it's
a
almost
rebellious
felt
act.
like shameful that, like, oh, I'm gonna be not so fun, but I'm
or
gonna drink water.
you're not drinking. Why are you not drinking?
Yeah.
Are you an alcoholic, or are you pregnant? Like, no, like,
you're not fun anymore.
Yeah,
Like, dude, I'm always fun.
yeah, but that's the thing. Like, people link alcohol to fun, but there's also like not fun parts, like the hangovers you have. Like, what's so fun about that? You would take that as a consequence, like, oh, I had a fun night yesterday, but then you're wasting a perfectly good day. Like, for example, today, if I would have gone to a party yesterday and had my usual drinks, probably today, which is like absolutely gorgeous and sunny and it's warm and nice, I wouldn't have gone outside because I had a hangover in it, because I wasn't feeling well.
Right.
And I don't want to have those consequences.
Appreciate these simple beauties.
This is so much better than going out for a night and getting absolutely like smashed, hammered, whatever you want to call it.
True. So if I see it, there's two parts to it, right? First of all, you're drinking to mask away from something, but also because of drinks, it's also taking away the simple pleasures of life, right? Like the weather, or like having even having the practice of having a normal conversation without a crutch.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, people think like, oh, if I don't drink anymore, life is not going to be fun anymore. Like, I'm taking all the fun out of my life. But actually what you see, you start to appreciate the really good and fun and nice things. And you even start to appreciate the fuck ups that you do, because yes, it can be sometimes like super awkward because you're not drinking, and then all of a sudden it's you who is talking, not the alcohol, and
or you have so much free time when you're feeling bored and you're not drinking. You have that space.
You have that space to fill it up with like going be creative, go to the beach, take up a new hobby, maybe take back on the musical instrument you learned as a kid, or teach yourself on something like maybe you want to learn something new for your work, and all of a sudden you have all the time in the world to do that.
And this is for people who just like drink to be social. And then there are like the extreme effects of it, like alcoholism, like that's like the extreme addiction, which actually doesn't happen suddenly. It slowly creeps.
It creeps in.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, because also with like, I mean, and that's what I said. I don't feel like I was an alcoholic, but yeah, it starts like, oh, I have a glass. Oh, I have another glass, or maybe like, oh, I still have something left in the bottle. Do I really want to keep that? Oh, no. Oh, but I actually really like the buzz. And then all of a sudden, like every time you drink, you go for the buzz or like, and
suddenly before you know it,
you're drinking a bottle of wine.
Yeah. Things are out of your hand.
Yeah.
And then things can go very nasty. If I really, I'll be honest, a lot of the criminal activities that happen, a lot of the social challenges that we have. It's also because of making drinking, gambling, these things so absolutely accessible, normal, rated in a pedestal as if that's the way to have a fun life, have a great life. And then you get into this whole cycle, which you can't, it's like a hamster wheel, which you can't get off. And that leads you to only spiral down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so many people end up living a very, very sick life.
Yeah. And I find it so sad that that sometimes society just glorifies the
Not
whole thing.
sometimes. It is really, really
Yeah.
glorified at the moment. I don't know one place where I can go. And like, if like if you go to somebody's place, like first time, it's very normal that they get you a drink. Or like if I invite somebody first time, it's very normal that you gift a bottle of wine or go to a birthday or just meet for a half an hour catch up.
Or like even what would you say? Sorry that I intrude, but like my partner for Christmas, you know, with the Christmas gifts from companies,
Oh yeah.
they always gift you wine.
Yeah. That's absolutely normal here.
And sometimes that's the only gift you get.
Yes.
And then I'm thinking like, okay, what if you can't drink because you might be an alcoholic, and then your company gives you wine or like a beer for guys, like a beer thing. And I'm like, why is it so normal to gift alcohol without any substitute? Like, it's not like, oh, there was no choice, you know?
No, indeed.
And then I'm wondering like, oh, but we're so far ahead with so many things, but then we're so primitive in these kinds of things.
And I think we perceive these things to be as progressive. We perceive drinking to be a sign of we are enjoying the material world.
Yeah, but it's not always enjoying the material world.
Yeah,
like,
that's the illusion that you have.
yes,
That's the illusion.
It makes the material world maybe look more fun or whatever. But for example, like I had roughly like two, besides all the social things, like why I would drink was either because I was bored, or either because I was overwhelmed. But when I was bored, like alcohol is the cheapest way of getting dopamine. And especially when you have ADHD, like I do, it's so hard then to quit that dopamine because you're finally getting the dopamine and it's already so hard to. And then people keep glorifying it, and then you're like, yeah, but it's actually not it. It's not a good thing.
No.
Instead of looking at it like, why was I bored? Shouldn't I do something about the boredom? Or why was I overwhelmed? Shouldn't I just do something about the overwhelm?
Like, what are the tools and techniques for an ADHD person to handle boredom? Or,
for example,
so we need more education and awareness about how to handle these inner masks that we are, alone suffering, and we don't have any social cure or awareness. And until like you have to go to a very extreme situation, or like you are lucky that you became aware at the right point and you could, take the step back.
Yeah.
But many people are not aware. In fact, they glorify, like you mentioned.
Yeah. And it's so hard to create that awareness, like because what you said before, like the boredom, or not the boredom, the way people look at it is like, oh, you're boring when you don't drink. But it has so many health implications. Like even I read this article, I think it was circling like a couple of weeks ago, about how much risk there is in like getting breast cancer when you drink.
Wow.
So for women, but nobody talks about that. Or like how in how many shitty situations she can get when drinking alcohol, like in any case drinking alcohol,
Yeah.
but what kind of like things that happen when you have ADHD, for example, because there's already like troubles with impulse control, for example. Like, and then alcohol is another thing that might help you, but then I don't. It's such a difficult, because you don't want to scold or like scholar anybody on like you shouldn't drink, you should do
No,
that.
we are not here to preach anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm just here to tell my story, how scattered it may sound maybe, but like my life changed because I'm sober for now like a year and a month. My life changed.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't check the days. I should have checked the days before I got on here.
You have a countdown here, like,
like a little smash, like it's this many days. No, but like it's been hard, yes, especially with the social situations, but you have to educate people on the new you, because it's such a big thing. So if you change the big thing and the society makes it a big thing, you just really need to educate people, and then do the brave thing and be there like, no, I'm just going to take a sparkling water, thank you, or no, just give me an orange juice please, because I'm sober, or like
So thank you for doing that. Thank you for educating. That's really, really important what you're doing before like things go extreme. It has, but like for in your life,
and you don't, and it doesn't need to get extreme just to say like I'm not doing this. And fortunately, actually, because I was the same. I was so scared my social life would suffer, but ever since I got sober, all of a sudden I found all these people around me that were sober that I never knew, or that got sober recently, or that had their own reasons why they got sober. And then
you have an upgrade in your friend circle.
I have upgraded my friend circle. And you can have the conversations like you talked about, you know, like the deep conversations, the shitty conversations that you're scared to have. But then, you know, it's like a real connection instead of...
Yeah, and you would be amazed that if somebody has the bravery or the courage to look into their own masks, normally they are much more open and less judgmental about anybody's story. So there is actually nothing to be scared about. We speak about social anxiety. Yeah, if you know that I have done the work and the person whom I'm sharing with has done the work. It's all about sharing our stories without any judgment.
Exactly.
And we are here to celebrate and encourage each other in everybody's journey.
But that's I think it's a good thing that you say that, because I'm quite open as a person, so I'll tell things and I'll share my stories. But yes, sometimes you're met with like a weird phase, or like, oh, okay, that sounds tough, or like, but then because they haven't done the work, or they haven't seen the thing that is limiting them, or whatever it is, you know, like they can't take the next step, and then sharing it because they haven't digested it themselves. It's like you wouldn't,
the other
right?
side is tougher. And then you need to drink. I agree that like you need to be superficial in that case.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, and then but sometimes they'll come back if you have such a social situation. Sometimes they will come back later when they drank enough, and they're like, oh, I remember you said something about this, like, and then they will talk. I'm like, okay, yeah, you can share your story, it's fine, but then
but times are changing, and I think we are also increasing awareness about a lot of topics, like you mentioned about ADHD or neurodiversity. Today I learned from you about a new word, neuro-minority. So let's move to those topics.
Yeah, sure.
And like educate me about what do you mean by neuro-minority, neurodiversity, and
Yeah. So also I want to preface this, like I'm a baby neuro, I'm a neuro baby. Sometimes I call myself sometimes a neuro baby because I'm not yet diagnosed with ADHD, but I've spoken to professionals, and I found out through a very toxic job situation and TikTok. And I mean, TikTok is not, it's not a valuable source, but
depends how you use it.
yeah, exactly. But it made me realize some
Yeah.
things, and it was for me the starting point of doing research.
Yeah.
So, what the neuro-minority is actually for me a new term as well. Like every term is a new term for me in terms there's a lot of terms, in terms of neurodiversity and ADHD, because I just started researching myself. Yes, I started researching myself, but like I started researching about it myself. But I had a talk with a policymaker at the job I'm currently with, and he is in this neurodiversity movement, and he does policy work on neurodiversity, something like that. And he came up with that term neuro-minority. And what I understood, it was a very brief discussion, but what I understood was neurodiversity is acknowledging that, yes, there is diversity in our brains. This is a very short version of how I understood it. So neurodiversity is acknowledging the fact that we're diverse people, but talking about neuro-minorities is like dissecting the diversity and then saying, okay, but what is a neuro-minority? Like, for example, ADHD is a neuro-minority. Autism is a neuro-minority. Dyslexia, dyscalculia, I don't know how to say dyscalculia. Wow, there goes my English. That's a neuro-minority. And then for me, when he set the term, and what that meant for me was like, oh, wait, but I'm seen as a group. And instead of just looking at like, yes, we're all diverse, if you start looking at it as groups, it also means that you can do something about their struggles. Because then you just dissected them as like, or like you categorize. I know we don't like, labels and everything, but once you categorize them, for me, it sounds like, okay, then we can have the discussion as, okay, what does ADHD mean for you? And how are you struggling? And how are we able to accommodate you in that sense?
Right.
Because what I also found out, and actually that's what the policy officer said as well, was that I missed out on most of the accommodations I can get for the thing that I have, ADHD. Right. Because usually you get diagnosed very early. So you get medication very early. Sometimes you get different counseling or like guidance, or there's like an extra mentor or something at school. You get, for example, extra time on your exams, that kind of stuff. So there's like all kinds of things that can help you cope with with what you have. So like same.
Then you need to be identified at a very, very young age.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the awareness, how can even parents or the society help?
Exactly. And that's the problem. And that's also why women are diagnosed so late. Like usually, I read somewhere that on average, we are being diagnosed between our 30th and 40th birthday. While boys, they're often being diagnosed even before the age of 10.
Wow.
So, but that's because...
Well, I'm not surprised with the amount of inequality we have, like here, another example.
Yeah.
But tell me, in your case, being a female, what does it mean to you to have ADHD?
So you mean what are my symptoms, for example?
Yeah.
okay, first I wanted to rumble off like, this is wrong and this is wrong and this is wrong. But then I also want to say, and that's what I'm missing right now is representation of my kind of ADHD, and everybody's ADHD and it's a spectrum, you know, so for everybody it's different. But I feel very underrepresented because I have a good career. I have an amazing job. I did very well in school. For a bigger part, you would then say like, do you have ADHD or like, but you can have ADHD and still thrive, you know, and still like have the good grades and stuff.
So what's the difficult part?
The difficult part for me would be, for example, they call it executive dysfunction. So you really want to do the job. Like there is like a twofold in this. Like if you don't like it or if it doesn't stimulate you enough, it's very hard to do the job. Or like if it's a boring job, it's very hard to do the job, to start the job. So then you're basically not doing the job.
Well, I can relate to that.
Yeah, but that's the thing with ADHD. So many symptoms.
Yeah.
A lot of people can recognize them.
Yeah.
But it's the accumulation, I think, of the symptoms, because a lot of people there have like, oh yeah, but I struggle with doing tasks too. But it's this like moments that you really want to do it because you know you should do it. So it's not like, oh, I really want to do it because it's fun. But it's these moments of like, I know I should be doing this, but I really can't. Like like something like sometimes I even get nauseous and it feels like I'm really forcing myself. And sometimes you need to force yourself a little bit, but it feels like a very bad way of forcing that.
Like nobody wants to exercise.
Yeah. But
for example,
but it's even, it goes beyond that, because even in my job, I mean, I'm very fortunate with the job I have now. So if I'm stuck on some part of the project, I can continue with the other one and then go on with what I was working on. So like I'm not as stuck anymore as I used to be. But it even goes to doing fun things. Like I had a break last week and I've been crying in bed for an afternoon because I realized I have all these, and that's another thing, choice paralysis, or like ADHD paralysis, where you have so many choices that you can't make a choice and you're so overwhelmed with the choices, and then you just...
I have it with Netflix.
Yeah, but like that's like maybe like a minor like thing that you can maybe relate on, but it even goes for the fun things. But often people are like, oh, you're just lazy, or you just get over it, just do the job, like it's not that hard. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the problem, it's not hard, it's boring. So it probably is not going to give me dopamine, like the reward is not going to be there at the end. So it's even harder because there's like a step process, you know, there's like an impulse and then a reaction, and then there's like 4 steps, and then at the end there is a reward. But if we realize the reward is not worth it, and it's I mean, and I'm treading dangerous waters here because I know that there's a lot of nuances, and I'm like, what I said, I'm like a baby in this whole neurodiverse ADHD spectrum thing. But like even people really think it's sometimes we're lazy and we don't want to do stuff, but it gets so hard when you actually do want to do the stuff, and when it's actually fun and when it's engaging, and then you're so stuck. Like what I said, you know, the crying in bed, what I realized was all of a sudden I had so much time because I moved in with my partner. I'm having a great job right now. I have nothing to stress, you know, like I can honestly say I'm so happy, and like life is great. I've never had a better life basically than I'm now. So I'm like,
that's really nice.
I'm so happy. And then I realized, whoa, wait, the stress that I always had is less. It's not gone yet, you know, like that's a process. And now I have all these options that I can do. Like I can record my own podcast again because I have the space, or like I can go color because I love coloring and it gives me peace, you know, or oh, I have all these, like, I bought all
So
these
many
books.
creative ideas.
Yeah, I got these books, or like, oh yeah, I'm into poetry again. Like, I could write out the ideas that I like jotted on my iPhone and like never really made into a poem or whatever. Like, and then I was so stuck because I had all these ideas. And
That's overwhelming.
and that's overwhelming, and that's
Yeah.
even on the positive side. And that's why, like, I talked to one of my best friends. He came over last week, and he was like, but why do you want to have the label ADHD? And I was like,
Yes.
I don't want a label. I want the help that comes with it, because I'm struggling at the moment, like, even with fun things. So even if they tell me, Romy, you don't have ADHD, or like you're on the spectrum but it's not enough, then I'm still like struggling. So, but then I'm at an institution that I can ask help, like, because I'm still apparently I'm struggling. So it's not. It's sometimes it feels like parts of society, or like people in society, they're like, oh, there you got another one, you know, another ADHD, or like it's a fad, or like it's a fun thing you can say you have ADHD. But it's not so fun in the end if you're really struggling. And I mean, what I started the conversation with is that there is also like amazing parts about having ADHD, because I'm super creative. I have great overview. Like, I can have many projects at the same time and like still have ideas about it and keep track of them. I can see connections like that. That's maybe part of the creativity, but I can see connections sometimes that people miss because my brain is just wired differently, and like there's so many great things.
But tell me, don't we all deal with these feelings all the time? Like, what is, if society says this is normal, what is normal? Like, and right now, how the society is, we are spoiled with choices. We have the internet, we can learn anything that we want, we can do anything that we want. Isn't it how the society is functioning now, where we have so many choices and everybody is dealing with it?
Yeah, it partially is, but it's also partially like it's a disorder. Like
Is it a disorder, or is it a different way of working, how the brain works?
it's a different, well, they call it disorder because it's attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. How I would call it, it's more like attention management hyperactivity difference. Because I feel sometimes like disorder feels so it's you said something about like what is normal. Normal is the cis white 40 plus male. You know, that kind of discussion we're going into then, like that's considered semi normal. That's where
I'm like wondering, because I'm not in that bracket for sure.
yeah, exactly.
How do they deal with choices, for example?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's
I mean,
always like there is this whole phase that like, oh, everything is under control, but I don't know that what they are dealing with internally.
me neither. And so I don't want to, you know, step in their shoes and make assumptions on that. But that's the same as, you know, talking about ADHD. It's usually compared to how boys, and I'm saying, but I'm not man, but you know, when it's diagnosed early, like how boys
Are supported.
yeah, no, not supported, but how they present their ADHD, because it's usually the rowdy, loud, annoying, you know, kid running around, can't sit still, yada yada yada, and that's how many of the ADHD diagnosis of women gets like below the, like under the radar, because we're not the rowdy types, and we're not shouting, and we're not, you know, crazy busy, but it's usually the inattentive side, which includes, for example, making careless mistakes, or like you know, it's not the impulsivity that guys or boys have. They're like, oh, I'm just gonna do that now. Like, no, it's
Maybe being
It's
clumsy or
clumsy. It's like the overthinking. It's very internal with women.
no.
And yes, we can be
I'm discovering that I have a lot of these commonalities.
I advise you to read into this. No,
Yeah.
no, but like it's very much internal with women. I'm not saying like all women or like all boys or like it's a spectrum, as I said, but often women are compared to the typical boys ADHD, and then they're like, oh, but she is not crazy busy, she's not hyperactive, she's not, so she can't have ADHD.
No.
But it's the very internal processes that
Right. Yeah.
like I can have multiple thoughts at the same time. Like, it's never quiet in my head, like never.
No.
And then sometimes I'm like, I ask my partner, and he's a guy, and I mean, with guys it's and in any way the same case. I'm like, what are you thinking? And he's like, nothing.
Is that possible?
And I'm like, is that even possible? Like, what? Like, how can you think nothing? Like, if I don't think nothing, there is like some type of music playing, like it's never quiet in my head. And I can never wind down. Like, when I wake up, it starts. And before I go to bed, I really need to make like a conscious effort not to let my thoughts run with me, because then I won't sleep. And that's another case. Like, so many people with ADHD have insomnia or have trouble sleeping, falling asleep, staying asleep. They're struggling
because the brain is so hyperactive, and hence, like, if I connect the dots, also one of the quick fixes in the society that we have done is with alcohol. Drugs, entertainment, like over consuming to keep that, I don't know, overwhelming buzz.
To
numb.
quiet the noise.
Yes.
But
So,
that's what I said when I had the overwhelm. I would drink, for example, and now I quit like over a year ago, and that's been one of the biggest struggles is to find ways that I can still entertain my mind. That when I said when I was boring, what do I do now when I'm boring? Oh, when I'm boring, when I'm bored. And what do I do when I'm overwhelmed?
The most beautiful part is that you're aware of it.
Yeah. But that's step one.
That's step one.
That's step one.
But most people don't come to your step.
I know. So, but that's like to sit with your feelings.
Yes.
And I think that's what we're so scared of in this society, is to sit with our feelings and
to question them and know, like, why do I feel scared? Why do I feel overwhelmed? Why do I feel, I don't know, imposter? All these feelings, and go one level down. Yeah, and
because the thing is, like, if you're aware of your feelings before, this is what I believe in, right? You have feelings, but actually feelings are the physical often, because you feel something in your body, right?
It's a neurochemical state.
Yeah. And it's the manifestation of a thought you had before the feeling. So you asking, like, why do I feel this, is actually asking, like, okay, I have this feeling, but what made me feel this way? And then I also believe, like, feelings create your actions. Like, if you feel shitty, you're probably going to take shitty actions, like whatever it is, or shitty choices. But if you question them, like, okay, I have this feeling, why am I feeling this way? So you're going back to the thoughts. What I think Tony Robbins says it, like, change the thoughts, change the feeling, change your life, or something. I'm not sure if it's Tony Robbins. I'm sorry if I quote something wrong. But, like, if you can change the thoughts, if you're aware of the feelings, sit with those feelings. Guys, sit with the feelings. And then just, like, be critical of yourself. Like, why am I feeling this? And even if it's, like, a stupid thing, because sometimes there are really stupid thoughts that come ahead, and, like, factually
be curious about the data that your inner self is giving you.
And then like, whatever it is, sit with it, think about it, don't judge it because it's there. And then if you can change the thought, you can change the feeling, and therefore you can change the actions that will lead to your future.
Yeah. And these are like small habits that can lead to a more calmer, less masked lifestyle.
And a very much more conscious. And we talk about conscious as if it's something like holy or spiritual, sacred. It's not.
Very practical.
It's very practical. It's being in the present and being very mindful and very deliberate about what you do.
Wow. Yeah.
And if you're brave enough to say like, hey, I'm seeing that alcohol is actually not helping me reach my full potential, then screw alcohol. And then I'm also thinking screw society. And because what I said before, like, you will find your tribe, because for some people it sounds very woo-woo, you know, but like attracts like. They always say like birds of a feather flock together, or something like that. It happens. And people may say like, oh, but that's very spiritual because, you know, it's like energy, blah, blah. But apparently it works, because otherwise I wouldn't have gathered all the people around me that don't drink and that are enjoying life, and that
we wouldn't have met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that kind of things.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, yes, I do feel like sad that I think I'm missing out because society tells us this is how a good life looks. But then I'm looking around, and if I have questions about whatever it is, I know I have my tribe, my people to support and be like, yes, I know this is what society says, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. Like, I'm liking how they're living their lives. I'm liking how they deal with conflicts with their partners. I'm liking how they deal with their work. I'm liking their courage that they take.
Yeah.
Because they take conscious courage. It's not like I think I've written it down somewhere about like liquid courage. This is a thought I had. Relying on liquid courage instead on your own capabilities is like baking without a recipe. It may come out nicely, but you will never be able to recreate or improve on it.
Wow.
Just a thought I had. This.
I'm learning so many new terms today. It's already very educative session.
Yeah,
Wow.
because I was thinking like, what is it about sobriety that I like? What is it about? You know, why do I do it even though it's hard? It's I'm not gonna deny that it's easy. Like, or just quit drinking.
Yeah,
it's
just it took some real hard work to come to this podcast and even have this discussion. Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't have been able to have this talk like 6 months ago because I wasn't there yet.
No.
And now I can actually say like, yes, I'm a sober person. I don't drink, and not like, oh, I used to drink. No, I don't drink.
No.
Period. And it doesn't matter what I did in the past.
Yeah.
I don't drink. Yeah. And because of that, I can, you know, like actually look at things, do things, even though they're scary. Just take the fear with you, you know, see it as a friend, or see it like as maybe your younger self who is scared. You know, see it as a child. Just take the child by the hand and just tell it like...
Still do it. Your consciousness knows that what's the right thing to do for you.
And it can be scary.
No.
But just see it as a scared friend or a scared child. What would you say to a scared friend or a scared child?
Yeah. Be compassionate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. It's really beautiful, Romy. I really, really enjoyed. Very intellectual at the same time. Very, I think, educational. I learned a lot about neurodiversity and ADHD. Being sober is something I really, really appreciate. And I think the world needs more of that.
Absolutely.
Without having very extreme cases.
Yeah.
And that's a really beautiful role model.
Yeah.
So-
I hope I can inspire people, you know, and I don't want to put myself as a god, because sometimes I hate it, you know. Last week I've been called an inspiration twice and was like very uncomfortable. But on the other hand, like,
No, you need to stand up for things that are so close
we
to
need to
your-
model.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
need to model,
We
and
need
then
to.
people. I'm actually reading a book about. It's called Trust and Inspire, and it's about stewardship. Leadership is stewardship, and it starts with modeling.
Yeah.
It starts with you doing the things that you want from other people or that you would like to see in the world, and then it's just a ripple effect.
You are totally doing that. You are a role model. You have to hear it again. And
I just have to listen to my own podcast or like my own advice sometimes.
right. And yeah, thank you so much, Romy, for sharing your valuable story and being the role model that we all need. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Yeah.
Nice.